Hey there, I'm Jesse, and you're listening to the Deep Lore Boys podcast, where me, Matthew, and Jackson delve into the random, rare, and often ridiculous pieces of human history.
160-foot wingspan, 90 feet long.
Whoa.
Breathes fire.
These two paleontologists basically just hated each other.
I think the lizard people were probably involved in that one.
I think the lizard people would have been pissed.
So, wait, how do we... Okay.
You can't start with you want to start a lot more solid than Say, what's up, guys?
I've
Today's
never,
episode.
I've introduced several topics before, but I've never introduced an episode.
Make sure you smash that subscribe button in 5 seconds, or else a dinosaur will run into your house and rip out your gallbladder.
Okay, here it goes. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Deep Lore Boys. Today, we're going to be doing the whole episode on dinosaurs. There's a new Jurassic World movie coming out, and everyone kind of has dinosaur fever right now. So
let's go, dinosaurs!
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of research on dinosaurs for a while, and I was like, if there's any time to release it, now's the time. So
while the dinosaur hype is in the air.
For those of you who don't know, I actually wanted to be a paleontologist for most of my life until I was probably like 14 or 15, and I started thinking about other professions, but I've always sort of kept that interest in dinosaurs.
Yeah, so dinosaurs are already kind of they're literally underground, so they're already pretty deep as far as lore goes, pretty mysterious. But we found some even deeper dinosaur lore, including well, I won't spoil it. We've got some wacky topics today. So, what do we want to start with, boys?
Can I talk about Gallimimus for a while? Am I allowed to do that?
For a
because
while.
There's nothing really
Yes, there is. Yes, there is, Jackson.
What do you know about Gallimimus that the rest of us don't?
Gallimimus is a genus of theropod dinosaur that lived in what is now Mongolia during the late Cretaceous period, about 70 million years ago. Several fossils in various stages of growth were discovered by Polish-Mongolian expeditions in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia during the 1960s.
Wait, how do you spell Gallimimus?
Gallimimus.
Good enough. I'll give it. So, dinosaurs. We all pretty much agree that, they're not really around anymore. Those guys have kind of died off for a while. But back in 1890, there were a group of cowboys that weren't so sure because they seem to have shot down a full-on pteranodon. At least that's what they say. And apparently there's some photos out there, but the photos that you find are, as with most cryptids, sketchy as to whether or not they are real. But the whole thing is kind of interesting. The Tombstone Thunderbird. And I got very, very into this when I was like 12 or 13. I researched the crap out of this, but I don't remember much of it now. So this is all coming back to me as I look through these black and white photos.
I mean, honestly, just this picture of the dudes holding the pteranodon.
Right.
This is like a hardcore me and the boys moment. I want to throw that one out there. Like,
yeah,
this screams that energy. Like,
it's like 12 dudes standing there. I think every single one of them has a mustache. Yeah,
almost
all of them
do.
are rocking stashes. They've got the cowboy hats, rifles.
They're all just sitting there. The one guy's got a dog that he's holding.
Yeah.
They're all just chilling there, and they're just all holding up this pteranodon corpse.
It is some serious me and the boys energy. Now, there's more than one photo. There's this one, and then there's a ripped up kind of like sepia tone looking one. And I'm not sure. I'd have to do my research again here and see. But I think both of the pictures, their authenticity is sketchy. I mean, of course, they're holding a dang pteranodon. I think there's like talk of one having been recreated. One of them wasn't. It's weird. But the story lives on.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if you have these, here's one of the pictures. Here's like the picture that I really recognize. There's a few of them. If you're going to have a bunch of dudes dressed up as cowboys and a big model of a pteranodon to try and make a hoax, you're going to take a few pictures of it.
There are several different photos of these cowboys standing in front of a dead pteranodon.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so the one photo, which is it's maybe not the worst in quality. It's not black and white. It's kind of like brownish looking, but there are 6 cowboy looking dudes, all with rifles, and they are standing over this dark-looking corpse. It's clearly a pteranodon, but it's the photo itself isn't even full. It's like a fragment of a photo. Like the edges are all ripped up and stuff, which makes me think maybe this one is more authentic. There are other photos too that are a lot grainier of some kind of corpse lying there, and all the cowboys are standing around. Interestingly, they never look like the same people, but they all
because the ones on here, there's 6 dudes, but they're all dressed up in like Civil War garb, if you will.
That pteranodon, if you just look at the picture, is definitely fake. You can just see the guy's foot standing on the beak of it, and it's definitely photoshopped.
Yeah, and that's definitely like an older recreation of a pteranodon too. It looks photoshopped.
The creepiest looking one is this epic black and white photo where they've got the pteranodon like mounted up on the front of this house. Oh my god,
dude, that is a beautiful. You know what I'm gonna do right now? It's
really, really spooky looking. Like even the other pictures where they have it in full view, none of them look like this one right here.
When did this myth really come out? Like, did it come out during like the 1800s when people were talking about this, or when this would have been happening?
That's a good question. Let's find out. I think it was in the newspapers at the time, but I'll go back here and see what the internet has to say. So the legend of the Thunderbird is, as far as I know, a Native American legend that had been around for a while of big super bird. And 2 cowboys in the Arizona territory had a bizarre confrontation with it. Apparently the retellings of it vary pretty widely, but the main story is that they saw a giant flying bird, and as you do here in America, land of the free, home of the brave, they shot it, and then they carried the carcass into town. And then I think that's kind of when the story got out. I'm not sure how widespread it was. A report in the April 26th Tombstone epigraph listed the creature's wingspan as an alarming 160 feet and noted that the bird was about 92 feet long, about 50 inches around in the middle, and had a head about 8 feet long. So that matches none of the pictures.
They just found an actual rock and just shot it down. And by that I mean the Dungeons and Dragons bird.
The big D&D bird.
The rock without a K at the end.
Yeah, so the newspaper reported this thing as being like half the size of the whole town. I'm not sure how 2 cowboys could have possibly dragged it back or killed it, for that matter.
Yeah, honestly, that'd take a few gunshots at least.
That'd take a few cannon shots.
Now, the article goes on here and acknowledges that, that sounds like a typical Wild West tall tale there. But apparently, there is also, as the article says here, a kernel of truth, because in 1970, Harry McClure claimed that as a boy, he knew the 2 cowboys from the story later in their lives, and they had told him a different version of the events. They said they saw a giant bird and that it actually had a wingspan of more like 20 to 30 feet, which is much more believable than 160, but still like pretty gigundous. They shot at it, but it was out of range, and the horses refused to chase it because they were spooked. So they rode into town empty-handed, carrying only the news of one that got away. That sounds a little more believable to me, especially that the town would be like, oh, what, you saw a big bird? Oh, holy crap, 160-foot wingspan, 90 feet long. Whoa. It breathes fire, its eyes turn you to stone.
All the good stuff. All the
good stuff, yeah.
I do kind of miss that. It was like 100 years ago. When somebody discovers a new dinosaur, they'll say like, oh my gosh, it's a Triceratops. It probably breathed fire and killed people. It's a monster. And then now it's kind of like, no, you can't say that about this dinosaur. He wasn't an omnivore. He was an herbivore. It's like, and I understand, I respect like knowledge of dinosaurs, but at the same time, like I kind of just miss that.
You kind of miss the days when everything was a legend. Yeah.
Back when everything was a legend.
My whole thing with the Thunderbird theory is like, if they actually were to shoot down these massive animals, you would think with all the exhibitions they had going on at the time and all the like circuses and stuff, you would think that they would be selling them for a bunch of money, and then they would still be like,
maybe they wanted to keep them.
Especially if it's a small town like that, I don't think there's any logical reason why that would be. Like, that would have been the case of them not selling it.
I just really, really like the image of them all holding it up.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the thing. Maybe they were too proud of it, because all the alleged photos are like them just being really proud. They were like, hey, Mom, get the camera. Take a picture of me and the boys. Look what we found. Maybe, because, not everybody is out for money. Maybe this was just a bizarre case of somebody being like, you know what? No, this is like a family relic now.
They killed a pteranodon. Yeah, I do want to point out that like pteranodons lived out west. We know that, but they lived out west at a time when out west was a lot wetter. It wasn't as dry,
right?
And pteranodons ate fish, so they would not live out west. That was not the environment that these people are in is not the environment that you will ever find a pteranodon. They need large amounts of water because they eat fish. They eat big fish because they're big animals. And so naturally, like for me, it doesn't add up, especially when you can add to the fact that Pteranodon is the most famous pterosaur. Then, somebody just says, oh, it's why you always hear stories of people, finding T-Rexes, and you'll never hear a story of somebody encountering a Pachycephalosaurus in the middle of the woods. It's just because, people don't know what it is.
Here's the thing, though. I think this is the thing that's really being overlooked by everybody who researches this story. Pteranodon, right? Dinosaur. What are dinosaurs? Big lizards. Where was it? Out west?
Oh.
You know what else is out west? L.A. And you know what's underneath L.A.? The lizard tunnels. The reptilians, we know they have HQ out there underneath of L.A.
The reptilians put this lizard in the sky. They said,
they probably did.
Guys, they're on to us. Send the airborne lizard. And they launched this guy out of the trebuchet. They shot him out of the hole and covered it back up real quick. And he started flying. And they were like, yeah, go get him. And then they got shot down. And they were like, all right, they'll never know.
So this was basically like a war, but we didn't even know it was a war.
No, it was just like they were just trying to keep people off their case. Because this was in like Arizona, I think. So I think they catapulted this lizard out of their hideout. They put wings on him and sent him out there. They catapulted him out to try and get them off of their case. I think maybe it wasn't an execution as much as it was like a volunteer, like somebody's got to keep us off his case. And they were like, this guy volunteered, and they're like, no, not you. And he was like, it must be done. And he gets up there, blasts out of the cannon or something, starts flying.
I'm sure if you've been a listener of the podcast for a while, you'll be well aware of the LA Reptilian Tunnels. But if not, go back and listen to episode 3 of the podcast. We talk about how one brave soul, one honest man, found the lizard people's secret hideout underneath of LA. And honestly, it's shocking. It's a chilling story. They're real. So what? I don't know anything about the Crystal Palace dinosaurs. What's that about?
Oh, that's a classic.
So in the 1850s, when they were first discovering dinosaurs, they didn't really know exactly what they looked like, but they were still really interested in them. So they decided to basically build a bunch of these dinosaurs in the middle of this Crystal Palace that they had built for the World's Fair. And they weren't exactly accurate. Let me just tell you that much.
They weren't exactly, the dinosaurs we recognize today.
I think they look great. I think they're beautiful.
They look really striking. It's really fun. It's like looking at a completely new species of animal. Like,
they're
dinosaur?
Totally.
I guess
if you're acquainted with what an iguanodon is, they're very boring in their design. But the ones in Crystal Palace Park are potentially boringer.
They're worse.
I like them though. I really like the design. They look like
all the dinosaurs in Crystal Park have this weird charm to them.
They're like, picture a Komodo dragon. Like, they look like big lizards. That's what they are. Like, they knew them as big reptiles.
How do we know this isn't actually what they looked like? Maybe we've got it wrong nowadays, and Crystal Palace had it right.
So basically, for those of you who don't know, this thing it's built much more similar to like a rhino. It's this statue in the middle of a park. In some ways, it kind of looks like a green rhinoceros with a sockeye salmon head, is basically what I'm thinking, with a little bit of a horn on its snout. He's not the most attractive of fellows.
I think he's beautiful.
But it looks nothing like how we would picture iguanodons today.
Yeah, Jackson. So here's my case here. That you said they look ugly and they look nothing like what we'd think a dinosaur looks like today. I think there's an element of realism to them. There is an element because you see, like, the one is he's put on quite a bit of weight and he's kind of like laying around. He looks lazy.
They're all like big, tubby
Yeah, like they're big boys.
They're
When
big
we
boys.
look at reptiles, when we look at reptiles today, like they don't move a lot. They lay around in the sun because they're cold-blooded, and I don't think dinosaurs would have been any different. Like we often view dinosaurs as these like really lean and fit, like muscular beings that just speed run around, but like
They're built
honestly,
like anime characters.
yeah, like some of the picture of the T-Rex in the D&D monster manual, the thing is ripped. It is all muscle, and I love it. I love that.
I love how
image.
we always end up going back to the D&D monster manual.
It's
somehow,
always just my
when we talk
go-to.
about
Like I
animals.
see that and I love it. But like we always view dinosaurs, I think, as being just a bit more muscular than they really would have been.
So the guy who built this place and was working on the models, he had originally planned just to recreate extinct mammals, and then he talked to some guy named Sir Richard Owen, who he's kind of a big deal. He was
sounds like a
he's a
based
paleontologist and anatomist. But yeah, he talked to him. The guy was like, "Yo, you should build dinosaurs," and he said, "Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. I think I'll do that." So the dinosaurs, which is what this place is known for now, were really more of an afterthought. Like it wasn't even in the original plan.
I think it says they're made out of clay.
How have they remained for 170 years made out of clay?
They were built full size in clay, from which mold was taken, allowing cement sections to be cast. The larger sculptures are hollow with a brickwork interior.
Oh, so they had a New Year's Eve dinner inside the iguanodon.
Oh, I forgot they ate food inside of it.
What?
They opened up the statue, so it was just the head and the tail, and then like the back was all open, and they set up a table and ate food inside of the statue.
Oh, jeez.
That old banquet in there, I forgot.
That would be a really fun New Year's Eve party.
I'm trying to see what the public reception of this thing was.
Very positive. People liked them.
It looks like it was actually scorned by one of the people that I was thinking about going into tonight. But
No.
It was scorned?
yeah,
No.
apparently people,
What?
not everybody liked it.
What
What is
foul
there to not
things
like?
could you possibly have to say about Crystal Palace dinosaurs?
So American fossil hunter Othniel Charles
Oh, he has a
Marsh.
dinosaur named after him.
His last name is Marsh. He's clearly an antagonist.
Well, okay, just you wait though, because this is
Didn't he get in like a whole war?
well.
What?
So he said that the friends were doing them a great injustice. He spoke apparently very angrily of the models.
Wow. I think he must have been speaking about the accuracy, because the models themselves look really cool. I don't see why he would be like, these.
No,
that's
he's
stupid
talking
looking.
he's talking about the state of their disrepair that they were in. It says that he scorned the
Okay.
friends. So he was scorning the people in charge of the models because they were letting them
Right.
fall into disrepair, and he was mad about that.
That makes a
makes
lot more
sense.
sense.
That
So
makes
actually,
sense. Okay, so I forgive him then. The models in the park fell into disrepair as the years went by, a process aided by the fire that destroyed the Crystal Palace itself in 1936.
Oh
What?
my goodness!
And the models became obscured by overgrown foliage. And then they were restored in 1952.
So that could definitely get old. I could see why I'd be annoyed by that.
Can you imagine these dinosaurs being like really, really overgrown, and then one day you're just like walking through the woods and you find one of them? What, like
That would be incredible. If I
That
just
would be
find like
really
a
cool.
statue there
no,
of
that
a
would be
dinosaur, I'd cry. I'd be like, "This is beautiful."
that would be really awesome.
Hold up, though. Yeah, sorry to cut this off here. Because we just talked about Tombstone, Arizona, it has to be stated here. Because I was just Googling things and I came to that. Apparently, there is a Crystal Palace in Tombstone, Arizona. And it's a saloon, and it's apparently also haunted. There's that. That's cool.
Oh, we might have to look into that.
Also, I do want to point out that in 2018, there was a crowdfunding campaign run to build a permanent bridge to Dinosaur Island.
From Crystal Palace?
Yeah, from Crystal Palace to the Dinosaur Island where all the statues are on. And it was literally endorsed by Slash. If you aren't acquainted with Slash, he's the guitarist in Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah. What?
Yeah, he endorsed it.
So apparently
He
he's
is.
a big Crystal Palace Dinosaurs fan here.
I guess, yeah.
Already, he sounds
Did they
even
do it?
cooler.
Did it work?
Yeah, no, it was.
Oh,
the
yeah,
bridge
it was
there.
installed in
They built the
January
bridge.
2021. And then in May 2021, the nose and mouth of the Megalosaurus sculpture was given an emergency renovation. Oh, after it had fallen off the previous year. Okay, good. So it didn't like fall on somebody. 22 new teeth and a prosthetic jaw were installed, and yeah, he's looking pretty cool now.
Wow, that Megalosaurus is really inaccurate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, what are you talking about? What are you on about? These are the most accurate dinosaurs I've ever seen.
Yeah, when he mentioned Othniel Charles Marsh and I said he got in a war, that's the Bone Wars.
Oh.
These people basically, so in the late 1800s, these two paleontologists basically just hated each other and tried to go like out of their way to basically just like discover more dinosaurs than the other one did. And
Right.
like it was like a massive race, but it got heated and like they really did not like each other.
They were going off on Twitter.
They were, dude. I would like
Was
to
it
see
worse than the
Twitter.
2016 presidential election?
I mean, we're still talking about it over 100 years later, so
That's
I'm
true.
going to say that it was because the two men apparently ended up being financially and socially ruined.
Oh.
Wikipedia even goes far enough to say that they tried to go and disgrace each other.
Yeah, Marsh and Cope, I guess we'll call them. They're pretty well off dudes. And actually, it seems like they had a pretty good relationship from what I'm reading. Like they weren't best of friends, but they didn't hate each other at first. So in 1868, in an act of friendship, Cope had shown Marsh around a fossil quarry in New Jersey, but behind Cope's back, Marsh made an agreement with the quarry owner to have any new fossils sent directly to him at Yale, and Cope would later describe that as the beginning of the end of their friendship. So basically, Cope is like, hey, Marsh, check this out. I mean, look at all these fossils in this quarry. And Marsh was like, wow, thanks for showing me this, man. Hey, by the way, quarry owner here, you send all these fossils directly to me, okay? And keep it hush-hush under the table.
yeah, honestly, that's kind of a bad move. Like,
That's kind of a bad move.
yeah,
And
that's rough.
that seems to be one of the first offenses. Marsh tried to put Cope out of business. He used his superior connections and political skills in Washington, D.C. to become chief paleontologist. And then not only did he have access to federal funds, but he had a lot of political power, so he set about isolating Cope, cutting him off from the government funding, and in desperation, Cope attempted to make up for the loss in a silver mining venture in New Mexico. Instead, he lost everything. Marsh honestly sounds like kind of the villain here. He has done nothing good this whole time. I can see how a war began.
I mean, he was kind of a jerk. I will tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm seeing he sent spies even at one point, or multiple points, to spy on Cope. So Marsh he sent spies, he stole from his fossil quarry, he tried to slander him, and then he just made his way into office and then grand slammed him.
Honestly, Marsh genuinely sounds like a psychopath.
He
I'm not
does.
even
He sounds
joking.
way too
He
obsessed.
Yeah,
with
and
his
this is all over
bones.
the course of like 20 years or like 15 years over drama that he started, and then that literally resulted in him going bankrupt as well.
Well, I think I kind of am beginning to see how, because here's the interesting bit. I don't know if this is where he began to go bankrupt or what, because I'm still reading the story as we go, but so Cope was separated from his wife and child, and he was living alone in a small Philadelphia apartment. And this is, I guess, when he had lost everything in the silver mine. He was down on his luck, and things were not going well. His fossil collection was literally all he had left, and so Marsh kind of just went in for the kill. He attempted to take Cope's fossils, claiming they had been collected with federal money and thus belonged to the government. But Cope was like, nah, they weren't. These are mine. This is my collection, and he proved it. And then, as the article says, he set out to destroy Marsh. Apparently, for years, Cope had been collecting records of nefarious, underhanded dealings and accusations of scientific impropriety to use against Marsh. So he was just like creating a stockpile of proof to use against him. And then he turned them over to a freelance journalist at the New York Herald. Oh. This is not looking good.
Marsh, dude,
Marsh started sweating at that point, it looks like. An article with the headline, Scientists Wage Bitter Warfare was published. The public battle lasted for 2 weeks. The two professors were just blasting accusations back and forth. Marsh and his allies at the U.S. Geological Survey were publicly accused of corruption, incompetence, and misuse of government funds. Congress investigated and eventually slashed funding for the survey. Oh, and they eliminated the Department of Paleontology, along with Marsh's position, power, and most of his income. What?
Dude, so Cope just literally went and pulled the last laugh on him. Cope just took the whole ship down with him.
He went sicko mode. So Congress literally, you know how stuff would happen when you were a kid? I mean, my mom did this. I don't know if yours did, but you know, if me and my brothers were fighting over a video game or something, my mom would just take the whole video game away. Like, yo, nope, we're done. We're getting rid of the whole thing. Congress literally did that. They saw these guys were fighting and they just tanked the entire Department of Paleontology.
And that's why I was kind of confused when it said that he was like a lead paleontologist for the government. I was like, do we have a Department of Paleontology? Like, that is not a thing. And I was really confused.
Right, like
I was
that...
like, who is our lead paleontologist today? And they're like, oh, well, that's where that went. It's gone now.
Yeah.
Sucks.
I wonder if we could convince the government to bring it back.
Right. Be like, guys.
Okay. I guess there's probably better ways to be spending taxpayer money, but is there? I mean,
is there? I mean, come on. Dinosaur bones. The sad thing, though, is that with both of these scientists, with Cope and Marsh kind of going wild, just trying to destroy each other, it kind of damaged both their reputations, and they were both seen as psychopaths, even though I really think Cope was in the right here based on what I'm reading.
Yeah, Cope honestly is kind of like, I view him more as like a survivalist here. Like, he's just trying to exist. And for some reason, Marsh is viewing it as like some sort of massive business venture. And it's like, no, I get the bones. I get all the bones. And it's just like not letting him have anything.
Yeah, Cope doesn't even seem to have seen it as a competition.
So this is responsible for a lot of what we have about dinosaurs today. Like, these guys really did.
Because these guys went at it.
Like, they went insano style.
What I found here is Cope discovered 56 dinosaurs. Marsh discovered 80.
Yeah, Marsh won by numbers, but I think Cope won by tanking Marsh's entire career and position in the government.
I think that Cope definitely kind of realized that, like, wow, this is really stupid. Let's just destroy it once and for all.
Right.
That being said, when it got to the point where they're destroying like bones and stuff, that's a problem because fossils are a non-renewable resource. It's like how the Nazis destroyed the first ever Spinosaurus fossil and one of 3 known to be in existence. They just literally dropped a bomb on it and blew it up for no reason either. Nobody was killed. They literally just, like, they knew it was just a museum with a Spinosaurus in it. They knew it was the only Spinosaurus in the world, and they were like, you know what? We don't like that. Who likes Spinosaurus anyway? And just dropped a bomb on it.
I think the lizard people were probably involved in that one.
I think the lizard people would have been pissed.
Or no, maybe you're right. I was thinking that they destroyed it, like getting rid of evidence of something, but maybe you're onto something, that the lizard people would have been upset.
Yeah, I think that the Spinosaurus was probably like the lizard people's god, and they saw and they worshipped the thing, and then the Nazis were like, hey, you know what? Nah. And they just blew it up. Okay, so Cope died first in 1897.
Marsh probably got a kick out of that.
Yeah, Marsh is probably laughing. Which, honestly,
dancing on his grave.
He probably was. So, yeah, then Cope, right before he died, told Marsh that basically it was one final challenge where after they died, they would donate their skulls to science and measure their brain size to see who in the end was actually the smarter man.
Whoa.
And Cope did it. Cope died first, and his body was donated to science, and they measured his brain, but Marsh refused. That's just...
It's because he knew he was about to lose. Look at this. Cope spent years collecting information, just waiting for the day that he could take this guy down. I think Cope
feels to me like the bigger brain.
I was going to say, if it weren't for his body being donated to science, I'd frankly be surprised if Marsh didn't, like, dig up his body and add his bones to his collection just as, like, a final, like...
Dude, the ultimate disrespect. That would have been terrible.
It's horrible, but it's the kind of thing I expect out of Marsh at this point after reading about him.
See
like,
that
he's
happening.
A psycho.
But yeah, I mean, at least, we'll say this. We got a lot of dinosaurs out of it.
We did.
Thank God for that.
That's what we got to show for it.
Yeah, so they discovered, and some of like even the most popular dinosaurs came out of this. Like Triceratops was discovered.
Yeah, no, like Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Diplodocus, Coelophysis. All your just good old Allosaurus.
Actually, Allosaurus is going to be in the new Jurassic Park movie as well.
Yeah, a lot of dinosaurs that we know and love. They have their origins in the Bone Wars.
The Bone Wars.
Hi again, it's Jesse. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Deep Lore Boys podcast. You can find more episodes of our show on YouTube and Spotify, which we encourage you to share with your friends so we can grow the podcast. And drop a comment down below if you're feeling extra generous. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope your day is nothing short of interesting. Take care.
I'm going to go post that one on Twitter.com.